Hey guys, Pan here. Today I have a little bit different of a video. Today I'm going to be talking about the weapons used in World War I, and I'm going to have some Battlefield 1 footage for you. I'm going to start a series where I talk about different major wars and the guns that were used in those wars and the history of those guns. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. One of the saddest facts about World War I is that millions had died because military leaders were slow to adjust military tactics for this new type of war. New technology had made war deadlier than ever. Perhaps the most deadly invention was the creation and use of chemical weapons during World War I. This was first seen when the Germans used mustard gas to surprise the Allied forces in Belgium in 1915. This new invention claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers during World War I. Perhaps the most significant advance in warfare was the creation of the machine gun. This allowed the user to kill scores of enemy combatants in a relatively short period of time. Today I really wanted to talk more about the weapons that were readily available to the everyday soldier. Unlike what you see in Battlefield 1, submachine guns, semi-automatic rifles, and mobile machine guns were not really available on a high scale. Most of these weapons were being developed at the end of the war and didn't really see combat on a large scale. The bolt-action rifle was the most common weapon seen on the battlefield during World War I. The most common rifles for the Allies was the Lee Enfield, the Lebel, the Carcano M1891, the Mosin Nagant 1891, and the Springfield 1903. The most common rifles for the Central Powers were the Steyr Mannlicher, the Mauser M98G, and the Mauser 1877. Although machine guns were being used at this time, they were mostly used stationary to defend positions or to give cover fire for troops going over the top. Grenades proved to be one of the most effective weapons in the trenches. Hand grenades were used and improved throughout the war. Contact fuses became less common and they were replaced by time fuses. Hand grenades were not the only explosive available to the everyday soldier. World War I was the first time rifle grenades were brought into the trenches to attack the enemy from a greater distance. Although barbed wire doesn't seem like a very deadly weapon, it was actually used very effectively in World War I. It snagged on equipment and clothing and slowed attackers who were often prime targets for snipers and machine guns. They were often placed in double rows, making advancing through the no man's land a nightmarish proposition. The last thing I do want to talk about today is artillery that was used during World War I. The majority of casualties on the battlefields of World War I were actually inflicted by artillery shelling. Artillery barrages were used often to soften up enemy lines before infantry assaulted the area. Some of these artillery barrages could last days, shooting millions of shells from thousands of guns. Field guns such as the British Howitzer Mark I could fire 2 rounds of 290-pound shells a minute. On the other hand, the Germans began shelling the French capital with their long range for what they called the Paris gun. This gun had a 118-foot-long barrel and could fire a shell 25 miles into the air, targeting Paris from almost 74 miles away. So that's all the weapons that I wanted to talk about today, but I do want to finish this video with a cool war story from World War I. This war story is going to be about Marine Sergeant Dan Daly. Dan Daly entered World War I as one of the most famous Marines, having already won the Medal of Honor on 2 separate occasions. In June of 1918, during the Battle of Belia Wood, Daly bravely extinguished a fire that was on the verge of exploding at an ammunition cache. 2 days later, while his Marines were under heavy machine gun fire, Daly urged them to leave their cover and counterattack by screaming the famous words, "Come on you sons of a bitches, do you want to live forever?" This phrase is actually pretty famous in the Marine Corps. Daly's courage in the face of death was put on display again when he single-handedly charged a German machine gun nest, killing its commander and taking 14 soldiers prisoner. That same day, he made runs into no man's land to help save wounded soldiers who were stranded there. Daly was wounded during one of these solo rescue missions and suffered 2 more injuries during the Argonne Offensive. He was again recommended for the Medal of Honor, but as a soldier receiving it 3 times was pretty much unheard of, so instead they gave him the Distinguished Service Cross. So, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment telling me if you liked the video or not, and if you want me to continue the series. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.